This is the base model Honda BRV. Is it worth your money? Let's find out.
The BRV is a 7-seater MPV that goes up against the likes of the Xpander and the Stargazer. But unlike those aforementioned MPVs, the BRV has this classic two-box shape, which makes it look more like an SUV and less like a minivan. Now, nothing quite advertises that you're a mature family man than an MPV. But there are those who don't want that fact so loudly advertised. Those who want to hold on to a sliver of the youth, perhaps. And for those people, I think this shape would be more palatable. It looks wide. You have these meaty fenders over here with these flat black fender moldings. There is noticeable separation between the windshield and the hood, unlike the Xpander and the Stargazer, where it's just a straight slope from the windshield towards the hood. So Honda did exert effort here into making it look more like an SUV. Now here in the Philippines, we get 4 variants of the BRV. Now this over here is the BRV S Automatic, the most affordable automatic variant of the BRV. Now it is about 130,000 pesos more affordable than the BRV V, which is the mid-spec model. But on the outside, you can barely tell. Honda didn't put a lot of effort into visually separating the trims, so at least on the outside, they look almost identical. There are subtle differences here, like the grille of the S is finished in matte black. On the VX, that is finished in gloss black. The headlights look the same, but only the VX comes with an on-off function. You got halogen fog lamps down here. Surprisingly, the wheels are the same as the V and the VX. These are also 17-inch two-tone wheels wrapped in Bridgestone tires. The brakes are also the same. You get disc brakes at the front and drum brakes at the back. The side mirrors of the S are power adjustable, but they're not power folding. The V and the VX come with power folding side mirrors. You also don't get a lane watch camera on the S, so you don't get the camera on the passenger side mirror. You get functional roof rails up here like the V and the VX. This trim over here is finished in matte black. On the V and the VX, that is finished in silver. You also don't get a smart locking function on the S. So to lock or unlock the vehicle, you have to get the key out of your pocket and press the lock or unlock button. On the VX, as long as you have the key fob in your pocket, you can just press a button here to lock or unlock the vehicle. The dimensions are the same across the line. Now all variants of the BRV come with the same 1.5-liter 4-cylinder naturally aspirated engine that puts out about 119 horsepower. Now that may not seem much compared to turbocharged Chinese MPVs, but compared to mainstream Japanese and Korean MPVs, this actually has the most power. Both the V and the VX only come with a CVT transmission. The base model has a manual option. Now it may not be very powerful, but it is very fuel efficient, and we're going to test its fuel economy later. Now here at the back, the differences are also very subtle. On the S, this trim over here is finished in matte black, while on the VX, that's finished in silver. You got the same tail lamps as the V and the VX. These are LEDs with halogen reverse lights and halogen fog lamps. Halogen turn signals. You don't have any badging here that indicates the variant. So on the outside, if you don't know the differences, you'd be hard-pressed to tell which variant you're looking at. You got a rear wiper over here. Your third brake light is behind the rear glass. It's over here. You have a rear spoiler. Your rear view camera is mounted on the spoiler over here. Now, like the V and the VX, the S also comes with a manual liftgate. Now, space here is very generous. It's not quite as tall as the cargo space of the Xpander and the Stargazer, but it is just as long and almost as wide. Now one difference here is that the V and the VX come with a board that you can put here, so that when you fold all the seats flat, you get a flat loading surface. You don't get that on the S. Now this is how much space you have here in the back. You have enough space for a backpack and a couple of medium-sized luggage bags. Now if you need more space, you can fold the third row seats.
With the third row seats folded, you get 530 liters of space, and with all the seats folded, you get 1,013 liters. More than enough space to fit our sponsor for today.
Introducing the AutoSport Mobility Scooter, the world's most innovative mobility scooter. It folds into a small suitcase size And it has wheels so you can move it around like a trolley. It separates into two parts. It has leather seats and grips. An illuminated LCD dashboard. Enhanced lighting for extra visibility. You can install optional armrests. It's perfect for seniors as it's easy to lift and unfolds in seconds. It has a maximum speed of 10 kph, shock absorbing flat free tires, high ground clearance, advanced braking system, be free to travel anywhere, land, sea or air. It has 20 kilometers of continuous driving range. Engineered with flair, designed with passion for performance. Be active, be free, be yourself. Atto Sport, moving life. Okay, so we're now inside the BRVS. Now the dashboard of the BRV does not look particularly modern or premium looking. You have these curvy shapes over here which looks almost mid 2000s. It doesn't have the more angular, more futuristic looking dashboards of some of its competitors. But for a base model, I think this is okay. Almost everything here is made of hard scratchy plastic. The dashboard is made of hard plastic, hard plastic, hard plastic. This is hard plastic over here. This is hard plastic. The armrests on the door cards are also made of hard plastic. But the plastics do not feel. But the plastics feel thick. It doesn't feel that cheap. The seats are covered in fabric here. The V and the VX come with faux leather seats. Of course, both front seats are manually adjustable. And you get height adjustment for the driver's seat, which is a plus. Now this passenger seat over here is already at its farthest setting. I can't move it further back. And for a person who is 5'8", this is just adequate. But if you're 6'2", 6'3", I think you might find this a bit cramped. I have about this much knee room over here. You get this plastic steering wheel, polyurethane steering wheel. It's not completely hard. It has some give to it. If you want a full leather steering wheel, you'd have to go up to the V and the VX. You also don't get as many buttons here. You don't get ADAS features on the S as expected, but you do get some buttons here for your audio controls and also for your multifunction display. The steering wheel tilts, but it doesn't telescope. You have an analog speedometer, an analog tachometer, and a multifunction display at the center. Now in terms of tech, it's actually pretty decent for a base model. You get a start-stop button over here. You get digital controls for your air conditioning. You have this infotainment screen, which looks aftermarket. Now, I believe this is the same screen that you get on the VX and the V. And on the V and the VX, this looks underwhelming because, especially now that the Xpander GLS has been released, the Xpander GLS has a bigger and better screen. But the base model Xpander still has a smaller aftermarket looking screen. So this is still competitive with the Xpander. So this has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but they're both wired. You also get a reverse camera here, which is impressive for a base model. You get two USB ports over here, both of which are USB-A ports. You also have a 12-volt outlet over here. You got a manual handbrake, perfectly acceptable for a base model. In terms of storage, the glove box is pretty big. It's not dampened, but that's okay. You also have a bit of storage underneath the center armrest. It's not very big. It's not very deep either. You have two cup holders over here. You have a bit of storage here for your phone. There is no wireless phone charger here. It doesn't have as much storage as the Xpander. Like, you don't have any cubbies on the dashboard, save for the glove box. But you have very big bottle holders on the door cards. These can hold pretty substantial water jugs. Now in terms of space, it does feel pretty narrow in here. Like, there is little space between the passenger and the driver. And this armrest over here is pretty thin, so you'd be rubbing elbows over here. And overall, I think it's not a bad interior for the price. It's actually pretty well loaded for the price, I think. Let's check out the back seat. Okay, now here at the second row, space is just okay. I have about 4 inches of knee room. Headroom is significant. I have about 4 to 5 inches. It is not a very wide vehicle, and 2 people of my size would fit here comfortably, but a third person, if that person were to sit here, that person would have to be a lot slimmer than me. 3 people of my size would be a very tight fit. Now, in terms of toys, you do get blower fans back here. You have 3 vents and a fan speed control up here, and a separate fan speed control over here. You do have one 12-volt outlet over there. There are no USB ports. You have a map pocket on the passenger seat, no map pocket on the driver's seat, and you don't get a center armrest on the S, which you get on the V and the VX. Now, space back here at the third row is passable for a person of my size. I don't mind sitting here for shorter trips, but of course, this is not the best. These are not the best seats in the car. The flooring is pretty high. I have my knees at a relatively awkward angle. Headroom is okay, but you have this hump over here. It's not actually hitting my head, but it's in my peripheral vision always. So it feels like it's about to hit you always. This is the mount for the seat belt for the center passenger. Now, in terms of toys, you do get one cup holder over here, one cup holder on the other side, a bit of storage over here. There are no dedicated air vents for the third row, but the second row blower fans are pretty close to me, so I can still feel the air coming from them, even in the one position over there. So that's not really a problem. Yeah, it's more spacious actually than a lot of PPVs. This is much more comfortable than the seats of the Nissan Terra or even the Toyota Fortuner. So while not ideal, this is still better than a lot of 7-seater SUVs. The BRV has 100 plus horsepower under the hood, which doesn't seem like much, and it isn't. But if you plan to drive the car like this, you don't plan to drive it aggressively, it feels adequate. Overtaking can be done. Although you have to be mindful that it might take a while to get in front of the vehicle that you're overtaking. The car has a CVT, which makes it very fuel efficient. I get about 23.4 kpl on the highway and about 12 point something in the city. Those are very good numbers, especially on the highway. It's almost as fuel efficient as a hybrid vehicle. The thing about the CVT though is when I step on the gas, you hear a lot of noise like that, but you don't feel a proportional increase in speed. And that's why a lot of performance enthusiasts don't like CVTs. If you're in the market for a BRV, you're probably not looking for a performance vehicle. It's a family car, and as a family car, I think it's pretty good. It's fuel efficient. It is relatively comfortable. It doesn't feel premium, but it's not gonna rattle your brains either when you're driving it. It's an adequate vehicle for the price.
If I were to summarize what the BRV is like to drive, I would summarize it as okay lang. Nothing particularly stands out as bad, and nothing particularly stands out as amazing. Except for the fuel economy. That's pretty amazing. Noise insulation is decent for the price, but if you're used to driving more expensive cars, it can sometimes feel like you have a slightly open window. The one advantage of the BRV over the Xpander is that its CVT transmission feels more at home on the highway. You can cruise at 100 kph at less than 2000 RPM, while the Xpander with its 4-speed transmission will be doing 2400 RPM at the same speed. So you get less engine noise and better fuel economy at speeds over 80 kph. I would say though that the 4-speed of the Xpander feels more engaging, as you don't get the dreaded rubber band effect common on CVTs. So it feels more responsive to throttle input. There are no ADAS features on the S, but the VX is the only mainstream MPV at this price bracket that comes with adaptive cruise control. So if you want that, go for the VX.
The BRVS sells for 1,165,000 pesos. That is 130,000 pesos less expensive than the BRVV. Now for that price difference, you lose the leather seats, the faux leather seats, you lose the center armrest for the second row, you lose the power folding mirrors. Though I think the BRVS offers the best value for money in the lineup, especially now that the new Xpander has been released. The new Xpander GLX just offers more features than the BRVV, and it sells at almost the same price, but the base model Xpander is still competitive with the BRVS. They have almost the same features. I think the question here is whether you prefer Honda or Mitsubishi, and whether you prefer this two-box shape or the Xpander's more futuristic minivan design.
At the end of the day, even with the influx of new competition from China, the BRVS, at its price of 1.165 million, is still very competitive. You get a family car that's very fuel efficient, very practical, has decent tech, and while it doesn't look as futuristic as the Xpander or the Stargazer, its classic two-box shape gives it an appeal that I think sets it apart from its competitors in this price bracket.